Wig hair Labubus. Let's talk about it. Hi, bestie. It's me, Liz. How are you today? This is episode 2 of the Blind Box podcast, which I'm already having so much fun with. I'm recording this on Thursday, June 11th. And of course, Thursdays are big days in the Pop Mart universe because it's a launch night. We are missing some of the most anticipated launches recently, including this week's Hirono Mist Walkers plush pendant series, which is so cute. I do really like it. I don't know if I'm going to try to get it through some type of third party or just wait for it to release in the US one day. I'm on the fence. And I want to talk more about that later. There's, of course, also the Dear Birds pendants that we didn't receive. And I'm so nervous because one of the things they've teased are the Molly Bugs pendants. Have you seen those? Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with them. I love them. I love Molly. I love Baby Molly. And I love her kitten pocket pendant series. I have almost every single one of those. My kids love them. My daughter will carry them around all at the same time, calling them her babies. And so this looks like a version of that, but of course, different flying insects, and they have different hair and eye colors, more like the Winter Fit Check series. Both of those series I just loved so much. So I love that this is kind of like a combination of the best parts of those existing plush pendant series, and I cannot wait. And if they don't release here in the United States, I will be devastated. I really will be. But one thing that's nice about us Molly fans, or I would say one thing that's nice for us, is that Molly's never really been one of the top IPs here in the US. So we can often, if we are patient, get access to her at below retail value. If that's how the Bug series goes, then that might be okay. But still, I'd love to be able to walk into my local Pop Mart and just pick up the whole case, walk out, and not have to wait 2 weeks to receive her from a third-party seller overseas. When it comes to the US, we haven't really been feeling the love from Pop Mart lately. There's been a lot of missed releases here with no real explanation from Pop Mart, which is interesting. I'd say that it's not surprising to anyone that items launched from China could be delayed reaching the United States market, but the lack of kind of any information on whether we would eventually hope to see these things, they're just stuck in some type of political customs holdup, or are we not going to receive them ever? I think that's the part that is frustrating collectors because there's really no information. And I know that Pop Mart is a relatively young company, but I think the consumers here in the United States expect and are used to companies sharing more information and treating the customer like a key stakeholder in the process instead of kind of the last person to find out anything related to new releases. I think the United States consumer is much more used to being treated like the customer is the most important factor in running a business. You know, there's that old adage that I don't necessarily believe in, but nonetheless exists, that the customer is always right. We hear that over and over here in the States. And I don't know if that culture is the same everywhere. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I think that we are seeing a lot of growing upset sentiment in our communities, in comments and videos, because of that lack of information. And I think that that is interesting. Like, it's definitely notable. Pop Mart is a quickly growing, relatively young company. And so maybe this is just a learning curve they're going through. Maybe this is something political, something geopolitical. Maybe it's tariffs, maybe it's wars affecting our shipments, but having no information about whether we would eventually one day get these launches is the part that's like kind of noteworthy. Like, it really does make me pause and think, because I'm the kind of person that really likes to vote with my dollar, if you know what I mean. I really like supporting companies and people and causes that I believe in. And I often don't stop to think about where all my money goes because that's hard. You know, in a capitalist society, it's hard to know that your dollars are going to go to people whose values you align with. But sometimes things happen that make it glaringly obvious that, wait, maybe we're not as aligned as I thought we were. And that's when you stop and pause. And that's what I think any company would not want to happen. I think executives and companies would rather you not think about it ever. So things like this can happen that kind of shake the goodwill in a company. And to me, as somebody, I don't know if anybody knows this who's listening, but I went to school for business. I have a master's in business. And so all the like behind the scenes baseball of running an organization is endlessly fascinating to me. I truly, truly just like knowing and hearing about and seeing companies operate in the world and kind of the response to that. So, what do you think? Have you felt frustrated by the missed releases here in the US? And if you have, do you feel you would expect something different as the customer? What do you think your theories are? I do. I have a few different theories that all could be valid. One could just be plain old supply chain challenges. You know, maybe it just takes longer to get here across the world. But people are arguing that other countries that are just as far away are not having the same delays as us. So it seems to be very specific to the United States, which makes me question, well, what's happening here in the United States that could be different? And I don't know if you know this, dear listener, but a few months back, the New York Times published an article citing that Pop Mart was found in violation of a law that says they will not use cotton from a specific region in China that is known for having labor camps. What does that mean? That means that in this region, other people came in and forced the natives from that zone to work in their industries, growing, developing, picking, producing the cotton from that region at extremely low wages so that it can be used in manufacturing. That sounds pretty similar to the history of the United States of America. That cotton is illegal here in the United States. And so some people are questioning whether there's some of that cotton used in accessories or elements of these specific pendants, which are causing these specific pendants to be kept out of the United States release calendar. That theory has legs. I don't know enough to know if that's the truth. I'm like you, I'm just an average consumer. But it does kind of make more sense, maybe, than just shipping logistics. Now, to talk about cotton some more. Who knew that we'd be talking about cotton right now? To talk about cotton some more. Our plush pendants are obviously plush. But the cotton that was used in these specific examples was the clothing on some Labubus, the accessories. So the body of a Labubu, the soft, fluffy, furry part, is actually not cotton. It's a polyester. It's a synthetic fiber. And most of our teddy bears, the plush toys that we have, are a synthetic fiber. They're not really natural cotton fibers. So it's like the clothes. Like if you think of your Hello Kitty Labubu and she's wearing a cute little dress, or your Pachaco who's got a little t-shirt and pants. I think it was their clothing materials that they're wearing that were in violation of this law. So I don't know if that affects Hirono Mist Walker series or Dear Birds. I really don't know because I tried doing a little bit of snooping to see like what's the makeup of those. You know, on the Pop Mart website, when you're scrolling down the product page, it does show you information about the specifications and the materials that are in use. A lot of times it's like PVC, that's like the plastic that's on their faces is some type of PVC or vinyl. I didn't immediately see anything that said cotton. I saw a lot of polyester. So who knows? If you're out there and you're curious about this too, let's put on our speculation hats and try to figure it out. Let's try to crack this mystery wide open. That could be fun. But aside from that, I don't have any other good ideas. So the last theory that some people have speculated is tariffs, which I guess that could make sense too. Our country specifically has a very high tariff in place right now compared to other countries. So that seems like a valid reason. I just wonder why now. Maybe there's something about the cost now that's not working out because demand is kind of lowering in the United States market. So maybe you're not so upset about eating the bulk of your tariff cost when you're selling a billion Labubus a week in the United States. But once that demand slows, maybe you start to reevaluate. I don't know. That's a good question. I think my next episode actually will be a deep dive into what we know as consumers about the economics of Pop Mart because I do see some information out there that I'm not sure is accurate. I see people saying the United States is like the number one market. We represent a huge chunk of Pop Mart's business. And that, to my information, is not true. The United States is a quickly growing market for Pop Mart, but I don't even think we're in the top three of their markets. So I want to spend some more time on that and just look at what we know about the economics of Pop Mart. Because, like I said, I'm a little bit of a business nerd. I just like knowing that stuff. I think it's really cool and fascinating. So if you are also interested in learning more about Pop Mart, how it runs, how much money it makes, which IPs are its number one, two, three, stick around. We'll talk about it more in the next episode. Wig hair Labubus. Let's talk about it. Do we like the wig hair Labubus? I think it's going to be the same very luxurious, silky feeling hair that they used on the Skull Panda series, My Little Pony. And to be honest, at first I was not excited about that series. And right now I am not excited about the new Labubus with the wig hair. I think the first photo that, we all saw was Lisa from Blackpink holding one with a wig, and it looked pretty wild. Like, in a way that was like, oh dear, no thank you. So I'm curious. I do think all of their stuff is so much cuter in person than it often comes off in photography, especially their product photography. But I'm trying to keep an open mind while at the same time being okay with not liking it and not wanting it and not wanting to like it. Because, of course, liking it is the first step in the inevitable purchase of every single item in the series. So, anytime there's something I don't like, sometimes that's a win. It's definitely a win for my wallet and, credit cards. So sometimes I'm okay with not liking it. I'm sure that's happened to you as well. And I think it would be fun actually to do a podcast about that. IPs that have grown on us. Maybe I could talk to a few different, people in our groups and our communities, and they can share their experience of an IP that at first was absolutely not for them. And then when they started to thaw, what was the situation? Was there a specific series or character that kind of changed your mind or caught your eye? And was it all downhill from there? Or was that just the exception? For me, unfortunately, I feel like once I see a character or a series that resonates with me, it's all downhill from there. I never disliked Demu, but he was never my favorite until I saw ones that reminded me of my son. And now he's taken over my whole collection. Similar with the Crybaby series. But anyway, we could talk about more about that later because there's a few other new things that were leaked that I want to talk about. One, speaking of Demu, is now potentially related, which is the new Inosoul series that was previewed. I noticed from the pictures that Pop Mart posted this week that we're seeing and experiencing and living through the demoification of Inosoul. Imagine saying that sentence a year ago to somebody and knowing what I'm talking about. I don't know. But it really feels like Inosoul as an IP had really strong design and concept behind it. But I think overwhelmingly he didn't grab people because he was really sad and his eyes were a little creepy. I think every single person I ever heard talk about Inosoul or comment on Inosoul, overwhelmingly people were like, his eyes are kind of creepy and he's sad. So he's not my favorite. And, people overlooked him. I wasn't sure if they would actually bring him back because he started growing on me earlier this year. So this new launch, I'm pretty excited about. I do think they took the feedback that people shared into consideration and slightly adjusted the development of the characters because you'll notice his eyes don't have that same like sunken effect that they had in older series. And overall, just the figures, the colors, the story it's telling is much more cutesy and less sad, less melancholy, and like dark dramatic as Inosoul was before. I'm really curious if people who did love and collect Inosoul for his original series will like the new direction that they're going in. I feel like I should like try to find Inosoul people who will answer this question for me. Because for me, a Demo fan, I love it. Like there's several figures that I absolutely hope I can get my hands on at some point in the future. But I'm not like an OG diehard for Inosoul, so I don't know if everyone would feel the same way. I guess not everybody feels the same way anytime ever in the history of humankind, but I'm just curious what those OG fans think. Okay, so you'll notice my voice is not as good right now. I'm recording much later in the day, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this week's teasers. One of the new teasers we saw was a new IP that Pop Mart described as a tiny forest, a cozy nap under the tree, and one golden candy falling from above. That is the caption on their Facebook post announcing a new IP, which they're calling RiboDiary. And I think they're calling the character that we see in the teaser trailer Rebo Bear or Rebear, something like that, based on the hashtags. But I thought it was interesting that his name is Rebo Diary, and that just kept reminding me of something. And it's not until I started recording that I remembered. It like just snapped into place. I'm associating his name with the brand name Haribo, the gummy bear candy that I believe started in Germany. And it's interesting just the similarity of is this being a little bear character that is struck by a piece of candy and named Rebo or Rebear, something along those lines. Obviously, we will see some more, but I wonder if this is a partnership, a collaboration they're doing, or just something that is coincidentally very similarly named. I hope it's not the second because this would be another example potentially of consumers being confused by naming of a Pop Mart collection and potentially that whole collection getting stuck in some type of copyright trademark dispute, as is the rumored theory, but pretty widely accepted theory for the Pucky Beanie Baby series where they were flying. That got stuck for a while, I think, because of the name. So hopefully this is not a similar situation. I'm interested to see more. And I think the last time they announced a new IP that I was excited about was the Marody character. And this has very similar, very cute, nostalgic vibes. What do you think? Are you excited about this IP or are you holding out to see more information? And do you think there's any similarities between Haribo and RiboDiary? I guess we'll know more soon. Since today is Thursday, maybe tomorrow morning we will wake up to see a lot more information on this series. You You can hear I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit now. I'm still recovering from a cold. So apologies if this part of the pod is becoming difficult to understand. But I think the last new release that's been teased that I wanted to talk through is the Kubo series. The name of the series, I believe, is Love Still, and we saw some artwork for it, teasing new figures that I hope we'll see more of tomorrow. But I know one of my closest friends in this community, Caitlin, loves Kubo. And so I'm really excited for her to finally see what this Kubo series is, because it's been rumored and hinted. And, you know, a few months ago, Pop Mart did like Kubo hockey skating. It looked like it would be maybe a heated rivalry collaboration or reference. And nothing really ever came of that. So maybe this is the result of that. Tease is this Love Still series figures. So I'm going to be looking out to see more of that. I'd love to keep chatting because honestly, there's so much more to talk about, but my voice is starting to protest. And so I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. But before I do, I want to do a bestie shout out. I really want to take a moment to recognize the effort of one of our favorite community members, Eric Q. Babalu. Now, he has no idea that I'm going to talk about him for a few minutes, but I've met Eric a handful of times now. I'm so lucky that we live in the same state. It's so important for him to create like a supportive network of friends. And so he goes out of his way to make that happen every day. I see him always reposting and liking and favoriting people's videos, helping them get that boost from the algorithm. And I know that it means a lot to him when people do the same for him. The other thing about Eric is that he's always trying to get our little group of Florida blind boxers together for meetups. And I love that. I would do a meetup every day if I could, because what could be better than hanging out with your friends at Pop Mart, maybe buying blind boxes, maybe just shaking them all and seeing what's new and talking about what you like about the series and what you don't. I mean, full circle, here I am now talking about it to myself on a podcast. So if you are anywhere in the Florida area, or if you're going to be here in Central Florida for any family vacations, you know, we've got a pretty popular theme park not too far from several Pop Marts. So if you're coming our way, hit us up, Eric Q. Babalu, or I. Right now, my TikTok name is Pop Martian, although I do go through phases where I change it. Hit us up. We would love to include you in our next meetup. They are a blast, and it means so much to me that Eric spends the time and the effort organizing and trying to get times that work for everybody and places that work for everybody, all just in the name of friendship and community. I think that's incredible. And I'm so glad I met you, Eric. And it's been so fun getting to know you more and cheering you on from the sidelines as you grow your TikTok account. Next time on the pod, I will talk more about the Pop Mart economy. We'll also talk about whatever new releases Pop Mart launches tomorrow, or the things that they tease. And consider this a formal invitation. If you want to join me, if you want to chat for a few minutes about whatever's on your mind, Pop Mart related, or your favorite IPs, or what you're focused on your targets, let me know. I'd love to hang out with you for a few minutes and chat. It's not a bestie pod without you. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stick around. Episode 2 will be out before you know it. Thanks so much.